Janina, it's not you. She's in the room. Can you please close the door? Close the door. Close the door. So opening prayers and window in the meditation. Yeah. So welcome back. We'll do our opening prayers as we usually do, and then take a little wiggle and then go into the next stage of learning Jay's meditation. So just make yourself comfortable, bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again, please. Now bring to mind that being who is for you a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom, and see them appear there with you. They're gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion. Their wisdom radiates from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. We're learning that that is possible. We're learning how it's possible. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing. And that longing into an intention. Then turn your mind back to your precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet, to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite, And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lamps, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of the Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandarakam Niryatarami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every single other.
Okay, we'll see the second part of Pepper Jay's meditation, so wiggle a little if you need to and then get ready. So let's start by watching our breath. I'll count to 10. Remember, you're focusing on the sensation at the tip of your nose, and the count starts with the out. Take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, specifically in the Heart Sutra, and think about why what you need to know might be in there and help you escape your death. And think about someone you know who is suffering and try to get the feeling that you would like to reach your own enlightenment to help them. Now picture your root Lama in front of you meditating with you. Think about some quality about them that you see and admire. Make 3 mental prostrations to them. Next, to make an offering to them. And today, a good offering would be you're going to try very hard to understand the sutra as we go through it. Next, think about the most negative thing you did yesterday or thought about yesterday. Look at it and try to purify it from your mind. Next, think about the best thing that you did yesterday, the best thought you had. Now pray that during the day, especially today, as you receive the teaching, that you get it, you begin to understand it. And then pray for the long life of the great teachers in this world, and also that the teachings themselves will survive. Buddhism is coming on hard times. It's being pushed out of Tibet. It's dwindling among the refugees in India. It's come to the United States and to Europe, but it's not strong yet. But we're part of the effort to make it strong. Okay, if you need to shift or move for just a second to get comfortable, go ahead. So now we're going to the actual meditation. First, we'll go through the physical body again. This is all part of the first step. We're going to observe the physical parts of our life without any kind of examination or philosophy, just checking. We'll start with the object of your eye, the colors and shapes. So go around the room with your mind. Think of all the colors and shapes. Try to picture your physical body sitting in a big box called this room. Think of the colors of the walls and the windows, the color of the grass, the trees outside, the sky. Continue going through all the colors and all the shapes that are part of your world. The ones you call your arms and legs, and also the ones you call grass in the sky. Just go through all the colors and shapes. If you turned your head from left to right, what would you see? Now go to the second step of the meditation and do the same thing. Mentally go around the room again, picturing the colors and shapes. Mentally look down at your hands and your knees. All in your mind, look at them one more time. Now we're going to start an examination of those colors and shapes. There's a choice. You can go either way. The first choice would be that those colors and shapes as you normally see them or visualizing them, but suppose your eyes were open and you looked around the room that way. The question would be, do those things exist outside of you or are they inside of your mind? So now for the first step, pretend they are outside and go around the room again from left to right with your eyes and concentrate very strongly, very deeply on the feeling you have, the natural feeling that they are outside of you. The natural feeling that if you reached out with your arm, you could touch some of them, or if you threw a rock, it would hit them. Concentrate on that feeling you have that they are outside of you. Now we'll go one more time across the room, starting from left to right. Go slowly. Think about each thing you could see and get that feeling. Get in touch with the feeling. It's a natural feeling you have. Those things are outside of you. Or are they inside of you? I can reach out and touch them. If I had a stick, I could reach out and hit them. It's a natural feeling you have. If you are not in this room, all those things would still be here. And in one way, that feeling is wrong. They don't exist that way. And we'll go into that in the next meditation. So for now, dedicate to good karma. That we just did to someone you know is having a problem today. Think about them very concretely and think about dedicating what we're trying to do to them. And ask your Lama to come to your head and down into your heart. Picture them very clearly staying in your heart. They're extremely happy with you for trying to do these meditations. Okay, you can open your eyes.
May I summarize that?
Sure.
So the first step of Kedrup J's meditation is to practice being practice experiencing an experience without all the labels and the stories. So kind of like an infant, you know, before you have names for things, that they might still see these colors and shapes and, you know, I know their field of vision is only this much, but pretend it's this much. And you, the infant, don't really know what all this stuff is, but you're picking up information. And we're trying to be able to actually experience things in that way. It's not our normal, and it's not what we're going to end up with at all. But it's getting in touch with the fact that our sensory information is different than the identity of the things. So we want to do that as a separate step. Then this second step that he just shared with us is actually going through and letting the identity of the objects show up and experiencing our deep belief or relationship with that object as it being out there, me here, it out there. We're trying to really establish, it's actually the wrong view, but we want to clearly experience that view so that steps 3 and 4 is what we're going to do with that. So first step is just the information. We call it the raw data. And it's actually very hard to do. And then once you have a sense of that, let the label, let the thing have its identity and find your belief in its identity. Prove it to yourself. Well, if I reached out, I would touch it. If I left the room, it would still be here. All the reasons that we say things have their own natures. Use it in that section of the meditation to get convinced that the thing's out there. Because then 3rd and 4th step is we're going to work with that. But we have to have it to work with it. Okay? And we'll do it again and again. Thank you. So let's go back to the sutra. Now, what we've had so far is the Dike, Dake, Dupe, Duchi. No, once I heard this teaching, and now we know that that's got those 3 different meanings of once I heard. Then we learned, what did we learn? Chamdende, Gelpoi, Kapna, Jagu. The conqueror was staying on Vulture's Peak, okay, and keep of the king. Hong Poi Rila, though, that's the mountain. Gaelang the Gendon Chempodong. Did we do those? We did those with the great gathering of monks and the great gathering of bodhisattvas. And we had those different meanings of great. They're making the distinction between monks who are at the Vinaya level, working for their personal nirvana, and the bodhisattvas who may or may not be monks and nuns, but their attitude, their motivation is working for being able to become a being who can help everyone, become a being who can help everyone, become a being, right? I can't stop saying it. Buddhahood. They're all gathered there with him. So next comes Dese, which means, and then it tells us we're into a new paragraph. Dese, Chamdende, what's Chamdende? Buddha. The Buddha, the Bhagawan, the conqueror, all those different meanings. Zabo Nangwan. Zamo is the word for the profound. Let me make sure I'm on the right page here. Yes. Zamo means profound. And profound is code word for emptiness, like another word for wisdom. So anytime you come across the word profound, it really does mean deep. And it means the depth of the true nature of something. So emptiness, it's another word for emptiness, Zabmo. It doesn't mean emptiness, Zabmo, it means profound. But profound means emptiness, okay? Then Nangwang, so Zabmos, the profound, Nangwang means appearance. So together it's the appearance of the profound, which is a weird thing to say, because we described emptiness as the absence of its self nature. And now we're talking about the appearance of an absence. And it's like, wait, that's an oxymoron, isn't it? If it's absent, it's absent. If there's no two-headed purple elephant in this room right now, it's absent. You can't appear here. But is its absence appearing here? Is its absence here? Yes. So this appearance of the profound doesn't mean all of a sudden emptiness is right there. What it's talking about is how emptiness appears to the conqueror. So we have to go on to the rest of this sentence to get it. So it says, and then Chamdende, the conqueror, Zabmo Nangwang Sejawe, the conqueror, goes into this state where his mind is aware of the emptiness of Sejawe Shuki Namdrang. Shuki Namdrang means, Namdrang is synonyms, and Shuki means Dharma, but Dharma here means existing things. Dharma often means, Buddha's teachings and our practice, and we're studying the Dharma as we do this, but the word Dharma also means existing things. And the Shuki Namdrang means all these different synonyms for existing things, all these different names for existing things, which is really a subtle, has a deep subtle meaning. But right now, let's just say all different kinds of existing things. Buddha goes into the awareness of the emptiness of a whole bunch of different existing things. Well, Buddha's omniscient. They're perceiving the emptiness of all existing things at all times. Why does he have to go into meditation to do it? It's like he doesn't. But he's demonstrating something. And apparently Buddhas do this all the time. They do things they don't have to do. They don't have to do because they've already been there, done that, right? And gotten enlightened because of it. But then they do it to demonstrate to their students, this is what you have to do. So here we are, all these Buddhas and monks and nuns and bodhisattvas, not Buddhists, the Buddha's there. And all his disciples have gathered around him, like come from far away with lots of trouble to come to the teaching. And what does he do? I think it's really funny. Get on with it. So.
Oh, you can do.
Yeah, I just skipped by that, didn't I?
Yeah.
So when we were talking about Namdrang, the word Namdrang, which means synonyms, Geshe-la said the use of this word often is referring to different synonyms for emptiness. So there are different ways to talk about the emptiness of something. One is to say that the pen does not exist by nature. It has no nature, another way to say it. It doesn't exist by definition, is another way to say it. It doesn't exist from its own side, is another way to say it. All of these are namdrangs for emptiness, for the word emptiness, the meaning emptiness. And it has no nature of its own. I said that about 3 times so far. So all of those are what's called namdrang, synonyms. Not word for word, right? Meaning synonyms. But the one here we're talking about is synonyms for the existing things that Lord Buddha's mind is aware of the emptiness of. You follow that? So we can say, oh, Buddha is meditating on emptiness. But there has to be an object that's lacking self-nature for the Buddha to be meditating on emptiness. There's no just uber emptiness that you set your mind on. There's an object, an appearing thing, and then you look at the appearing thing as if it has its own nature and go, no, it has no own nature at all. And that's its emptiness. Even Buddha catches both of those aspects. Buddha perceiving emptiness all the time still must perceive an appearing thing to perceive the emptiness of that appearing thing. So if they just said, oh, Buddha goes into the direct perception of emptiness, it wouldn't really be enough to explain to us what Buddha's doing for us in this sutra as he sits into meditation. He's meditating on the emptiness of all existing things. It takes those both appearance and the emptiness of the appearance to be experiencing emptiness directly. So now, when we have this simple little phrase, Zamo Nangwang, Namdra, sorry, Zamo Nangwa, it means the appearance of emptiness in the mind of the being to whom that is happening. So in this case, it's Buddha. So what does the phrase say in English? At a certain moment, the conqueror went into deep meditation on the part of the teaching known as the awareness of the profound. So the profound is the emptiness. The awareness is the state of mind that's experiencing that emptiness of the existing things that is being focused upon. All of that. So Buddha goes into this deep meditation on emptiness. It's what that phrase, they say, Chamden de Zamo Nangwang Sejawe, Shuki Namdran Ki Tingin Zen is the single pointed meditation, La Nyumpar Shukso. Called the teaching of the profound. You're on.
Okay, so line 4, Yang Dese again repeats the time aspect, saying also at that time. Chanchup Sempa means Bodhisattva. Sempa Chempo means great being. The repetition is because the sutra is talking about reaching his goals and those of all other beings. So you hear of that often in the teaching, the two goals. And it always refers to the goals of yourself or himself or themselves and the goal of all other beings. Pakpa Chenrezik Wangchuk translate as the exalted Avalokiteshvara. Pakpa refers to someone who is an Arya, who has seen emptiness directly. Arya means a higher being or a realized being. And literally means higher, someone who has reached a higher state. Choni Drakpa Shedrup explains that Chenrezi Avalokiteshvara has gone beyond the state of a normal person. And normal person is, what's the Tibetan for normal person?
Sosukewo.
Sosukewo is a normal person, meaning a person who has not seen emptiness directly. And he's called Avalokiteshvara because he's focusing on all the beings of the world in all the different realms of the world, all 6 times of the day. So he's constantly thinking about the welfare of all other beings. They translate Avalokiteshvara, the Tibetans translated Avalokiteshvara into Chenrezi, and Chen means I. It's the honorific for I. Can you explain the honorific? I get J's on Kapa, et cetera, but I don't understand why there'd be an honorific for eyeball.
What, when you're talking about His Holiness's eyeball versus my eyeball, His Holiness gets it,
The J eyeball.
yeah. Gets the honorific eyeball, and I get the
Okay.
Sosokewo eyeball.
Okay. So
Different
Chen,
word.
it's honorific for eye, and Rezik means to look at somebody with love. It's like gazing on someone with love.
Oh.
She does that all the time. Not to me. She's looking at one of her plants and oh. I walk in the room and she goes, nah. In the Sutra system, what we're studying, which is what we're studying here, Chenrezig is a bodhisattva. He's not enlightened yet. He's just one of those disciples of Lord Buddha. Choni Lama says Wanchuk means Lord of Power. In this case, it says he has total power. Now, you may recognize in the text that we go through, what's an example? The answer that the Lord of Power, the realized one, the great warrior, loving eyes, gave to the junior monk named Shariputra. Then you'll find later on the order of that changes. And we had a student, Yasmin, when we were first memorizing this, and she just dug in her heels about memorizing the different order.
Me
She,
too.
she just said, there's one order, that's what I'm memorizing, this is too confusing.
Me too. In the Tibetan and the Sanskrit, it's the same every single time.
So Geshe Michael was playing with
It
it.
was.
Wanchuk means Lord of Power. He's a great master of the Dharma. So Sherabki Paratua Chimpa Zamo Chupa, the profound perfection of wisdom. Ni Nampar Ta Shing, he looked upon it. Choni Lama says Chenrezig is also thinking about emptiness by looking at the 5 parts of a person. So we have 5 parts to a person, and we're not talking about the arms and legs. We're talking about a little more philosophical. Each one is a huge pile of things, and so they're called skandhas in Sanskrit. That means heaps. Each one of the 5 parts of you is made up of, here the text says jillions. I don't think there's such a word, but an awful lot. Directly from the Abhidharma Kosha, we're going to describe the 5 heaps. The first is form, your physical body, your physical world. The second is feelings, your capacity to feel things, good or bad or neutral, but it never stops. You may be in neutral for a while, but it's not that your feelings aren't running constantly. And I've struggled with the concept of neutral karma for a long time. And I don't understand how that can be. We always have an opinion about, well, I always have an opinion about things. So you say neutral karma, you look at a mountain, you go, that's neutral karma because you're just thinking mountain. But in the next instance, I'm thinking, oh, it's a nice mountain, it's a tall mountain, and I have an opinion. So I struggle with neutral karma. Anyway, next, so form. So when you're asked about the 5 heaps, you have to recall them in order. Form, feelings. Next is discrimination. This is your ability to discriminate between things. This is good or this is bad. I like this, I don't like that. We're constantly making distinctions between things, which is part of the reason we have so much trouble with karma. Number 4 is all the other stuff that makes you up, your anger, your jealousy, your compassion, your concentration. Geshe Michael and the Abhidharma Kosha say these are parts of you and they don't fit anywhere else. So number 4 is called the grab bag. And Geshe says that's exactly, if you translate the Abhidharma Kosha, that's exactly what it says. It's a grab bag of all the other stuff. The last one. Go
It's a
ahead.
little confusing because what we often mean in English anyway for feelings is all this other stuff. You know, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling jealous, I'm feeling, and that's not how the word feeling is being used in heap number 2. Heap number 2 is just thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways, physical, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways, mental state. And it's much more subtle than what's in the heap number 4 of all the other stuff. All the other stuff comes out of positive, negative, neutral. But it's different. Okay,
The 5th heap is your raw awareness, the fact that you're not unconscious, the fact that you're not dead in Western terms. So the raw awareness is simply being alive. And I think, to me, awareness, when I think of raw awareness, I think of a newborn baby. Just imagine what they're sucking into their brain. I just look at the wide eyes of a newborn baby and wonder, what are they thinking? Because there's all this information that they're gathering. And do they not know what to do with it? I don't know. This would be same for a young anything, a young dog or any animal. They open their eyes for the first time, and I just really wonder what that must feel like. Maybe it's overwhelming because that's why they're crying. So Avalokiteshvara as far as going into a meditation, an examination of the 5 heaps, the 5 parts of a person. Our meditation started on heap 1, and we're doing the same meditation. So you start with your physical world. To do that, you have to go through your 5 senses, and that's what we started already. We're going to concentrate on the first one, which is visual, and we'll be concentrating on that when you do your emptiness meditation. So there's a big debate about why they call the first skanda form, meaning shapes and colors. It's a word that normally means shapes and colors. When they name the 5 heaps, everything you smell, everything you hear, everything you taste, everything you touch, and everything you see. So why did they use everything you see to name all the physical parts of you? Because vision is 95% of your world. You live in a visual world. When somebody asks you about your world, you're thinking about what you see, not most likely not what you smell, taste, or touch. So we're going to concentrate on that when we do this emptiness meditation. Geshe says we could have done smells, but they're just harder since there are not many choices and not much variety. You take smell for granted. You take smell for granted, but if you've had COVID, you may have lost the ability to smell. Now, I have very little smell or taste anymore with Parkinson's. So it's an interesting, subtle. We say the visual is 90%, 99%, and you stop and think about it. You take for granted. There's so much we take for granted in this world. And believe me, not having a taste anymore or smell makes food an interesting diversion. Now I focus on texture in food. I like certain textures in my cooking, and I've discovered my wife doesn't enjoy necessarily the same texture. So that's going to be a challenge. Who doesn't like marinated artichoke hearts? I mean, everybody likes those, don't they? I was taught to always eat anything put on my plate by my mom. Apparently, my dear wife didn't learn that lesson, at least from my mom. Okay, let's get back to this. Okay, Pungpo Napo Dedak Laya Noo Niki Tungpar Numpar Tao. Page 2. Pungpo is heaps. Napo is 5. Dedak Layang is parts of a person. Noo is nature of their own. Niki Tungpar empty. Nampar and Tao. Choni Lama says there's an interesting thing here to think about. Let's see. Ta, no, I'm confusing myself.
Couple needs to look at it.
Yeah, but he's got Chao. Tao says it means to look at. In a lot of texts, it says Tao Chao. And Choni Lama says, I have no idea why he did that. A lot of the editions say should look upon the heap of form, should look upon the 5 heaps. And Choni Lama says, I have no idea why he did that. And then he says something that is often the case in a lot of these commentaries. I don't know, you guys figure it out later. So,
It's a clue.
do you want to take a break now?
We started at 2, no, let's go a little bit longer. I think I have a section that can break. So it has just said that the Buddha went into that deep meditation called the awareness of the profound. And at that same moment, Chenrezig, this realized being the great warrior Lord of power, sees into this 1D practice, the perfection of wisdom. And he's seeing perfectly the 5 heaps, the 5 parts of a person were empty and of any nature of his own. That's the phrase that we just went through when we put it all together into the English. So Lord Buddha sits into meditation, and so does Avalokiteshvara. So now the main teacher and the co-teacher are both sitting there in meditation when we all gathered for this teaching. Next, it says Yang De Se, like, and then in that moment also, something else is going to happen. So let me see if I'm in the right place here.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between Lord Buddha's awareness of the profound and Chenrezig's deep meditation on the emptiness of the 5 heaps. First, because Chenrezig's is limited to the 5 heaps. But second, because Chenrezig is not in Sutra teachings an omniscient being. And so he has to go through some sequence to get to the emptiness of the object of his meditation. So we're not saying that Buddha and Chenrezig are both in the same meditation on emptiness, because it's different, because their states of mind are different. And the distinction is made by saying Chenrezig, where's the word? I'm not finding, is engaging in what's called the profound activity. And Lord Buddha, the profound, the awareness of the profound means emptiness. And he's in meditation on that. When they use the term profound activity, it gets a little confusing, because when we have the 2 aspects of the path, we have the method side and the wisdom side. And the wisdom side is the learning and meditating on emptiness, the empty nature of existing things. And the method side is the activity that we do in our world, meaning our behavior choices that we make based on our growing understanding of the no self nature of the yelling boss. And so if that yelling boss is coming from me, my impulse to yell back to get out of whatever the problem is the impulse that will make more yelling people in my future. And so because of my growing wisdom, I will refuse to yell back and instead try very hard, to say something like, I'm sorry, you're upset. How can I help you? Yeah, difficult to do when you're being blamed for something, right? So all of that.
And just as a side, and Geshe Michael talks about the robo clause and uses the example of if you don't like your boss and you say, well, I'm going to move to a different job because I don't like my boss. And you move to a different job and guess what? After a little bit, you don't like your boss. You move to another job, you don't like your boss. So the solution is not to move to a new job. The solution is figure out how to get to like your new boss.
But I don't want to like my new boss. He's a jerk.
Well, if you want that in your future, that's exactly how you should react.
Right. So usually we identify method side in terms of activity because it's our behavior choices and what we think, say, and do. And that we identify the method or the wisdom side by the profound emptiness. And here they're like mixing the two together, that the profound activity, the activity of the profound. And it's trying to relay to us that we are going to do our activities with a deeper and deeper understanding of emptiness. And that's to do the activities in a profound way. It's not like as we get more and more aware of emptiness, we do less and less in our world. It's like they're not ends of the pendulum. They're in fact the middle of the pendulum where the two come together. And it's an interesting juxtaposition. Usually when we're talking about the wisdom side of the teachings, the bodhisattva who's giving those teachings is Manjushri. He's the wisdom specialist. And when we're talking about the method side of the teachings, the bodhisattva who's teaching about it is Avalokiteshvara, Chenrezig. He's the compassion specialist. And yet here is compassion specialist teaching about emptiness. And it's like, if the commentaries didn't point it out, it would just, it went over my head for a long time, even though the commentaries pointed out, it's like, until you get to thinking about it, it's like, it's a significant piece of this sutra that it's being taught to us by Buddha through Avalokiteshvara about emptiness. The compassion specialist is teaching about emptiness, not the emptiness specialist. And there's a point there. It's an important point that I can't really verbalize in English any better than just say it's something to cook. Right? There's a reason the sutra, Buddha did that in the sutra. There is a connection between compassion and wisdom, both in compassion in growing our wisdom and the compassion that comes out of wisdom. If our growing understanding of emptiness is making us more self-involved, more withdrawn, more detached, we are not understanding emptiness. Our emptiness understanding, when it's accurate, will increase our love, increase our compassion, increase our inability to tolerate anybody's suffering when we understand emptiness. And it just feels very different. Oh, you're suffering, it's just empty. It feels like that, right? Oh, it's empty. It doesn't matter. It's really, really a wrong view.
Whereas the two extremes.
Right, the two extremes, exactly. All right, so Yang Day say, Changden Day, where is it? I'm sorry, I'm mixed up. So let's take a break because I'm mixed up. Give me a chance to get unmixed up. 10 minutes? 10-minute break. Or is tugging too fast?
We'll talk more
You'll talk
slowly.
more slowly. For 2 minutes. And then we're good, speed up.
Okay. Let's go over the 5 heaps again. I'll try and do it a little more slowly.
I may have inaccurately reported that you were too fast. That was my understanding, so.
Look,
No one was complaining.
No one was rushing off.
I'm so sorry. I thought that was my incorrect understanding.
we're good, we can talk
It's
faster
very
then.
nice to take care of the translators.
Yeah, you try.
Thank you.
So,
And maybe it's for some participants as well.
That's what you're. Slow down. We'll slow down. Also, it was asked to clarify the 5 heaps. Too, so.
so you have 5 components you're made of. And each one is no simple thing. So they're called heaps because it's a huge pile of stuff. So the 5 heaps are form, your physical body, your physical world. And that covers everything from the grass outside to the trees, the clouds, the rain, the parrots, everything. That's your physical world. Then there's the mind, and that's the remaining 4: feelings, discrimination, all the other stuff in your awareness. So feelings, your capacity to feel things, good, bad, or neutral, which never stops. The moment you're born, you have an opinion. And what you do with that opinion is part of the 5 heaps. Discrimination is next. Your capacity to. Now, let me go back. The feelings is whether it's good or bad or neutral. Discrimination is deciding that you like or don't like something. You make distinction between things. And then number 4 is all the other stuff, and that's the grab bag. That's everything else, your compassion, your concentration, your identity, your anger. They're a part of you, and they don't fit in the discrimination or feelings, part of the 5 heaps. Then the last is your awareness, your raw awareness. And that's described as the fact that you're not unconscious, the fact that you're not dead in Western terms. I don't know if that helps, but that's the concept of the 5 heaps.
And the awareness of the senses is in the awareness also? The 5th?
I would think the awareness of your senses would be in number 5.
Right.
It was asked to clarify the 5 heaps. A little bit.
No, Louise asked whether the senses.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, that question, right. So it was asked, are the awareness of the senses in the heap of awareness or in the heap of form? And the answer was, it's in the awareness of the senses is in the heap of awareness. The picking up the sense information is in the heap of form.
Yeah, what you do with the awareness is in the heap of form.
Okay. Right?
Yeah,
Okay, so I got regrouped. So we are on the handout that has the Sanskrit and the Tibetan and the English. If that's the one that you have access to, we're at the top of page 3 on that one. Where it says Dene at that moment, right? And then Sangye Ki, Tu Se Dong, Dempa Starivate Pu. Chong Chup Sempa Sempa Tempo Pakpa Chenrazi Wang Chukla DK Cheme So. I have all that to talk about. Mm,
That's
Let me do the easy part. Let me do the easy part. The back of that, the Changchub Sempa Sempa Tempo Pakpa Chenra Ziwangchuk, we've already had. We're gonna have it again and again. So Changchub Sempa, anybody remember? Bodhisattva, Buddha wannabe warrior, Changchub Sempa. Sempa Chempo, the great warrior. Pakpa, Arya, Chenrazi, Avalokiteshvara, Wang Chuk, power guy, the Lord of power. So every time we see it, as Sumati pointed out in the Tibetan and Sanskrit, it's in the same order, but Geshe Michael takes those descriptors and puts them in different orders just to challenge us. So this is referring to what Shariputra, he's going to ask a question of the great Bodhisattva, the great warrior, loving eyes, the Lord of power. So Sange Ki to Se Dong Dempa Sarivatipu, there's our indicator that it's Sarivati that's doing the Sange Ki Tu Se Dong. So what's happening here is that the one who's written this down for us, who was there, says, under the power of the Buddha, Sange Ki Tu Se Dong, okay, the Buddha's in meditation, and somehow he's influencing Shariputra to ask a question of Avalokiteshvara. It looks like those two are in meditation. Shariputra comes up, must hug on the robes of Avalokiteshvara. I've got a question. And he asks. But in fact, Lord Buddha is inspiring this one called Shariputra to ask this question of the great warrior, loving us. And in the Choni Lama commentary, which is what Geshe Michael's following as he was giving this teaching originally, Choni Lama says, why did they call this guy Sarivatipu here and Shariputra in other places? Like, who is this guy? And Putra, the word Putra means son of. And he even goes so far as to say, who's he the son of? Who is this Shari person? And all they give us is Shariputra's mom was named Sharika. And so that's how Sarivati, who gets his name. And sometimes we call him Sarivatipu, and sometimes we just call him Shariputra. And why Geshe says, we'll talk about it later, but we never got there. So I don't know. It means the same guy, whether you see it as Shariputra, Sharipu, or Sarivatipu. The main thing here is that under the influence of Lord Buddha, Shariputra has this bright idea. I'm going to ask Lord Chenrezi this question. Right? He turns and asks this question to the great warrior loving us, is what this means. The Se Dong Dempa Sharivatepu is the term that points out that Shariputra is a monk, called a junior monk. Se Dong Dempa means someone who still has time, still has life. And it means he's younger, but here it means he's a junior monk, but not meaning that he's has only Rabtan vows, which is the beginner vows. It just means he's the young guy in the picture here. And so it's a way of saying Venerable Sharadvati turns and asks this question to Chenrezig. And here's the question that he asks in that same paragraph on the top of page 3. Ricky Form.
So Ricky Puam, Ricky Pumo, son of noble family, and that's, you gave him the page?
Right.
Yeah, son of noble family and daughter of noble family. Choni Lama starts by saying they're called son or daughter because they are someone who's been born into the family of the Dharma, and more specifically, the family of the Bodhisattvas. So they're the child of noble family, meaning now, due to your efforts in your life, you've taken a kind of rebirth, and that indicated by being a son. Now, sometimes Buddhism is accused of being, what's the term for male-centric?
So patriarchal. Yeah. Patriarchal.
And
But
Geshe
really,
says he didn't add the translation of the daughter of noble family. That was in there. So you're a new person, you're a born again Buddhist, you've been born into this new family, so you're considered a son or daughter of noble family. In this case, noble's not talking about the Four Noble Truths
Right.
of Arya. And that's why Geshe doesn't like the translation of Noble Truth.
May I share something? Do you remember when you took your Bodhisattva vows, those of you who did? We say something now, I've been born into the family of the Buddhas, I'm a child of the Buddhas. That's this. No, you are Ricky Puam, Ricky Pumo. Ricky Pumo being daughter, Ricky Puam being son. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyway. No, I'm getting there. Okay, I won't go through that. Dhamma means all of us, any one of us at all. So it's covering both male and female. Shared key parallel to Chimpa, the profound perfection of wisdom. Zabmoy, Chupa, Chepar, Dupa, follow the deep practice. So Choni Lama, no, I want to talk about that. Choni Lama is asking Avalokiteshvara, Shariputra is asking Avalokiteshvara, those of us who want to see emptiness, what should we do? How should we work on our daily practice? De Jatar Lapa Ja, Choni Lama says, the words, how do we train ourselves? What are we supposed to learn? The real question he's asking is, how are we supposed to learn the 5 paths? So here's the first mention in the Heart Sutra about the 5 paths. And if you didn't have a commentary, you'd never figure out that that's where the 5 paths enter into the Heart Sutra. So the Heart Sutra is a textbook on how to go through the 5 paths. And you have to go through all 5 to become enlightened. So I have Sok.
Going through the 5 paths again and talk about those.
Yeah, I'm just. Okay. Sok, Jor, Tong, Gom. The 5 paths. So the first one, what's the first one? And what are you accumulating merit?
No.
You accumulate renunciation.
Right.
Right. Now, when I first started learning the 5 paths, I always slipped into the thought it had to do with merit, and it clearly doesn't. Renunciation renunciation is what you're trying to accumulate. And it's true renunciation. You're tired of the ups and downs. You're tired of relationships falling apart. You're tired of your body getting old. So there's kind of candy cane renunciation where you don't want to do something, but you're not really serious about it. And then there's the true renunciation where you're giving up wanting to be reborn. Renunciation is where you accept the fact that you're tired of the supposed good things of cyclic life, of samsara. You're really tired of it. There's nothing in it that you enjoy. And that doesn't mean you're a terrible, depressed person. I'm a reasonably happy guy, and I have reasonable renunciation most of the time, unless it's chocolate. But I digress. Okay, the next is starting down the path of preparation. You're starting to understand emptiness intellectually. Then the profound, that's path of seeing, home. Intense 15 to 20-minute exercise experience of seeing emptiness, of experiencing emptiness directly. And the next one is path of habituation, where you use your knowledge of emptiness to eliminate your mental afflictions. Now, the interesting thing there is you know things are empty, they're not self-existent, but you slip back into thinking that, but you catch yourself. And the last is the path of habituation and the path of no more learning, where you become a Buddha. So DK Che Me Dong, what do we have here for that? I don't,
Sorry, Lama, where is that in the text? Where it says Deke Cheme? No.
I'm sorry, say again? Oh, I'm a DK Che Me Dong. Where is that in there?
Yeah.
Towards the bottom of 3, page 3. 1, 2. Underneath the Tibetan on page 3, bottom Tibetan on page 3.
In English is, because we have English.
This then is the answer.
This then is the answer.
Chanchu Sempa Sempa Chenpo Pakpe Chenrezi Wanchuk, the Lord of Power, the realized one, the great warrior, loving eyes.
No, it's above.
That should,
Yeah, we have it on both. At the top of the page, and that same phrase is at the last Tibetan on page 3.
so
So
you,
the one we just finished. That any son or daughter of noble family hope to follow the deep practice of the perfection of wisdom, what would they have to do?
Yeah.
That's what he just finished talking about.
That's the Deke Cheme Pa.
No, that's
That's
Ricky Puam, Ricky Pumo, Gangala. If any son or daughter hope to follow.
Okay.
Las Ser Kiparo Tu Chimpa, the deep perfection of the practice of the perfection of wisdom.
It's not good.
Chepar, Dubar, Ditar, Lapa, Ja, what would they have to do? What would they have to do?
you're up.
So then, next Tibetan down. Deke Che Mepadong. See that?
Yes.
Okay. Changchub Sempa, Sempa Chempo, Pakpa Chenrazi, Wangchuk. Got with me? He say dong, Dempa Shari, Vatipu, La Dike Che Me So. So we're putting together pieces. We already know Changchub Sempa, Sempa Chempo, Pakpa Chenrazi, Wangchuk. We're asking Avalokiteshvara, or he's something about Avalokiteshvara. And we already know Dempa Shari Vatipu, Venerable Shari Putra. Now, Dekeche Mepadong just means that he's quoting what Chenrezig is gonna answer. So Dekeche just means this quote. It's telling us that Chenrezig is gonna speak. Chenrezig is Jangchup Sempa, Sempa Chempo, Pakpa, Chenrezig, Wangchuk, right? All of that means Chenrezig. He responds, Ki Se Dong, he responds to Venerable Shariputra, Dempa Sharipula, Dike Cheme So, in the following words. So this is what this phrase is saying. Chenrezig answers Shariputra. It's not the answer, it's just that he's going to answer. And here it comes, what he answers. So in English, this Deke Cheme Padang phrase is, this then is the answer, that the Lord of Power, the realized one, the great warrior, loving eyes, gave to the junior monk named Shariputra. Right, we there? Okay, so then on page 4. Sharipu, top of page 4. Sharipu, Ricky Puam, Ricky Pumo. What's Ricky Puam, Ricky Pumo? We just learned that son and daughter of noble family, right? So men and women included here.
Gong La La means.
Gong La La, all of them together. Look, we're learning Tibetan. Sarab Ki Paro Tu Chimpa. Perfection of wisdom. Sarab Ki Paro Tu Chimpa is the perfection of wisdom. Zab Moy. What did we learn that Zab Moy was? Profound. Chupa, Chepar, Dupar, Day. I have to look that one up. Sorry, I don't have that word for word. Chupar, Chepar, Dupar, Day, Ditar, Nampar, Tawar, Jate. Jate means as follows. So this, what follows, is going to be what we should do if we want to learn to practice this deep practice of the profound, is what this is saying. So it comes out as, here, Shariputra, is what any son or daughter of noble family should see, meaning should do, should see, who hopes to follow the deep practice of the perfection of wisdom. Right, so perfection of wisdom is that phrase, Sher Ki Paro Tu Chimpa. And the Damoy is the deep practice of wisdom. Chupar Chepar Dupar Te Ditar Nampar Tawar Ja Te. This is what we should do. This is what we need to see. So we're all set up. The question's been asked. The answerer is telling us what comes next. And all the rest is going to be taking us through. This is what happens in the first path. This is what happens in the second path. But it's not going to say that way. It's right. It's gonna give us the essence of the experience, not really how to get it. And then Kedrubje gives us this 4-step meditation that helps us reach what this is trying to teach us. Okay. All right, does that still mean? Already prove. So Choni Lama says, in that little phrase, Tawar Jate, meaning as follows, that's where Choni Lama says, this is starting the explanation of the 5 paths. And again, if we didn't have a commentary, we really wouldn't know it. So thank you, Geshe Michael, for.
And there's a question as to whether this refers to 2 of the 5 paths or all 5.
Right.
Tony
So,
Lama says he's on the 5 paths.
right, he thinks it's all 5. But you know, when you're studying a whole that has parts, you investigate what makes the whole, and you see, oh, it relies on its parts. And then you investigate the parts to see what is it about the parts that make the whole. And you find that, well, you know, there's not really anything about the parts that make the whole. You have to have all the parts together to make the whole, but if you didn't already know the whole, it wouldn't matter how many parts you had together, it would never make the whole. And so when they're talking about the 5 heaps, it's like you can think about the 5 heaps as a whole, me, made up of 5 heaps, and it can investigate my emptiness of me made up of 5 heaps, or you can look at each one of the 5 heaps and all of its parts to try to find the actual heap, of which it's a 5th of me or whatever. Right, so he's saying, it's not that we just look at the 5 heaps as a one thing. And it's not that we look at the 5 heaps as just a 2 thing, as in body and mind. It's like, if you're gonna bother to do this, go through all the heaps individually. And work on where is that thing, the heap, and all its parts that make up the heap, that makes up the whole heap, me. And at each level, we'll find something that I think is there. And I'll go looking for that thing I think is there and not be able to find it without my seeds, my label, my karma ripening, seeing the thing in the way that I do, which means it's not in it. Remember? So that it, Chani Lama is pointing out, don't think that this is just talking superficial, oh, my 5 heaps. Wants us to go through, dig into it deeply, which is what we'll be doing during the week. Okay. What is it that Avalokiteshvara is going to point out about those 5 heaps that we are to come to realize by our own investigation? And that is what comes next. Is that still me? All right, so down in the middle bottom of page 4. Humpo napo dedak kyang. You see it? No, Niki, Tompar, Nampar, Jesu, Ta, oh, all of that is me. What's Pumpo? The heaps. The heaps. Pumpo is the heaps. Napo deda kyang, no Niki Tompar. No Niki Tompar is the phrase for does not have any nature of its own. No Niki Tompar. Does not have any nature of its own. So this phrase is pointing out, what do we need to do? We need to see that our 5 heaps, Pumpo Napo, our 5 heaps don't have any nature of their own. Not as a whole, and not as any one heap, and not as any one of the teeny little piles of things that make up that heap. They have no nature of their own. And what that means for them to have no nature of their own is what's going to be explained as we go along in the sutra. Let's see. So Pumpo Napo is the 5 heaps. The De Dat Kyung means see them one by one and together. So see those 5 heaps as a group as being empty of any nature of their own, and explore each one of those 5 heaps one by one to find their lack of what we think is there as their identity in them from them. So we're trying to identify our heap to begin with, and then identify our belief that that heap has some nature in it that makes it our heap of form, this thing, and then show ourselves whether or not it has that self nature. We will theoretically come up with an absence of that self nature, but not an absence of our body, right? Is our body gonna disappear because suddenly we understand it to have no nature of its own? No. Why is it not gonna disappear? Because it never had any nature of its own. That thing that we are looking for, that we think is there, was never there to begin with. So when we see that it's not there, what changes? Some belief, right? Some deep belief that pushes our interaction. That's what changes, not the outside stuff, because it was never had its own nature. It's really slippery.
This is why it can change.
Right, because it's slippery, or because it's empty.
Both.
You're making a joke. All right, let's see. All right, see them one by one. See those five parts of yourself as being empty of any own nature. That's the, I just lost it. The no nipiton par. Nambar Jesu Ta'o, see them this way. How we doing? We have 21 minutes.
It's on page 15.
Yeah. But we have 20 more minutes, but we do this third meditation or save it for the beginning of class. Let's do questions.
Yeah,
Let's do question and answer, and we'll start this meditation at the beginning of next class.
yeah.
That's actually good. Okay, so I will repeat questions from the audience. So all of that is clear as mud, right?
Yes.
Like even too unclear to ask questions about, right?
Yes.
But try to emphasize. What can I do? What can we do to help? Yes.
You can, I know that you already explained it, but if you can go a little more, because I haven't understood clearly the difference between feelings and the fourth hip.
Yeah, the fourth.
If you can go a little further, because.
Yeah, yeah. You want to do?
No, mine apparently is not clear.
Okay.
Repeat the question.
Right, so the question was, can we distinguish between the heap of feelings and the heap of all the other factors more clearly? So the heap of all the other factors is everything that doesn't fit in the others, but what it's talking about is our reactions to our experiences, in the sense that, you know, we have an experience and we automatically we automatically are jealous, or we automatically are angry, or automatically, you know, distracted or loving or compassionate. That it's we would call it our emotional reaction to a situation.
Well,
That
you like or dislike something, and what you do with that liking or disliking.
Right. So the like and dislike is over here, separated into the feeling and discriminating. Not because they're so different than what's in the fourth heap, but because those two are the cause of what happens in the fourth heap, what goes into the fourth heap. So an experience happens in the, like, with that ripening seed of that experience is the seed of positive or negative experience. It's not even yet I like, I dislike. It's just yes or no, you know. positive or negative. And then the instant with the positive is I like, which distinguishes what it is I like. Right there, so there's two apples on the table, one's a sour green one, one's a gala, right? And it's like, oh, thumbs up, apples. Green one, no, gala, yes. And I move toward, I want, I like, I distinguish, I want, I like, I go after. Right?
Yeah,
The I go after is in the heap number 4. Right?
Right.
If somebody else is going after it at the same time as me, ignorant me goes, I gotta get there first. Heap number 4. Right? Heap number 5, awareness, is the awareness of all of that happening. Right? And there are many different ones happening because there's the awareness of the colors and shapes, the awareness of the sounds, right? All of those are different awarenesses, but all ripening right together into the experience. And so the feeling and discriminating between things are separated out, because if you can catch the no self nature of those two, you will not react badly and make negative seed things in your 4th heap. You will only make positive seed things in your 4th heap if you're not misunderstanding, feeling, and discriminating. But it's so subtle. It's happened already by the time you're already reacting in your 4th heap, using your 4th heap. Is that more
Yeah.
clear?
As you study karma and emptiness, you quickly realize that you can have an opinion. It's what you do with that opinion. It's the ignorance that, well, ignorant response to good or bad that's causing the problem.
Right. Right. What else can we clarify? Yes, Tina.
Is it then so that we can say it, the 4 heaps are like the sequence? 1, 2, 3. First, I check the raw data with form and color. Then it comes to feeling to say. Then it comes to say, okay, I identify, I like, I dislike, and then the next, it's like a sequence.
So Tina asked if the 5 heaps happen in sequence. And
It's
when we investigate them, it's a great way to think of them. I would hesitate to agree that they happen in sequence, because I think they're happening all simultaneously. But yes, to work with them, it can be very useful to work with them in that sense of sequence from 1 to 4, but 5 isn't like a 5th one to happen. 5, right, is there in each one of them. Oh, good. What else?
I have a question.
Okay,
You say that when loving eyes starts to answer, it's going to give us the 5 paths.
right,
But then he goes right away into the emptiness of the heaps.
right.
So I am missing the renunciation part, the first part.
Right, so it was asked that where is the first path in the teachings here, when the first answer is what we're supposed to do is meditate on the emptiness of the 5 heaps. Where is renunciation? Do you care to talk to that? The renunciation is the willingness to ask the question with Shariputra and follow the advice that comes.
Oh, okay.
So to just be reading the sutra we already have some level of renunciation happening. Or we wouldn't have the seeds to be interested to be hearing the teaching. We wouldn't have the seeds for it to have any meaning at all. So it's kind of like it's implied, but all 5 heaps or all 5 paths you're gonna see seem like they're implied. So it would be a good exercise to dig back through that Tibetan or Sanskrit to see, you know, where's the real clue here about where renunciation is coming in. It's probably even earlier than Shariputra asking the question.
Is it because he's asking about the noble sons and daughter, and it implies that they're already noble?
Right, they're already, so we're already talking about noble sons and daughters, meaning people on their bodhisattva path already. So doesn't that imply that they have their renunciation already strong? That's a good point. So again, the renunciation would be implied to just be at the teaching of the Heart Sutra. Good question. What else? Ten minutes. Geshe Michael says never waste 10 minutes.
Yeah, I have a question. It's a technical question. It's hard to follow. Like you're reading, commenting on the commentary, and we have the text of the sutra.
Right? We don't have the commentary. I don't have it either.
You don't have it either.
Right.
So
I'm sharing the download that Geshe Michael gave to us. Lisa,
Yeah, it just came to my mind that, so we are studying the commentary from Shoni Lama, but the meditations are from Kedrop J.
yes, meditation are Kedrop J. We are learning from Choni Lama's commentary on the Heart Sutra. And the meditations that were being given are Kedrop J's, right? Who was a disciple of Jetsun Kappa, which was much earlier than Choni Lama.
But in the commentary, he doesn't mention the meditations. It's Geshe Michael.
Geshe
brought it-
Michael,
Okay.
right? Geshe Michael taught us that
Thank you.
meditation.
and also you gave us the mantra
Mhm.
already, and do you want to give us some practice with the mantra or just get?
Yeah, you know, we'll get there, but do you care to do that?
I'm not sure what the question was.
So the question was, sorry, what practice do we do in using the mantra? And with a mantra use, you are verbalizing the vibration of those words, those sounds. And that vibration goes forth from you and rattles the raw data of all existence in a positive way. And so what you might do as you're reciting your mantras is have a sense of this outflow of aspiration to move through the 5 paths to reach the state of being the one who can help others become the one who can help others become the one, right? That loves everybody. So as one repeats the mantra, you have this sense of outflow of uplifting vibration that as it goes out from you, just every worm, every gnat, every human, every angel feels uplifted by the sounds coming out of your mouth. Right? It doesn't need to be specifically thought out, just radiant sound waves vibrating out, right? would be a good place to start.
I'm sorry, this question is so good for this class, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I heard you explaining that you're going to become that person that is going to help that person to become the being to help that person. And it looks like something sequential in some way.
It is.
But I wonder if the part of the omniscient thing is no time.
Right,
What
correct.
What's not everything going simultaneously? So it's something that comes to my
I
mind
know.
constantly, you know?
Yes,
So, and I know sometimes I ask for it, but the answers, maybe, of course, my seats are not prepared to receive it, but I can, for me, it's supposed to be.
right. So the one, a given
The
being
question,
that, yeah, I'm trying to even rephrase the question. Does when one person get fully enlightened, everybody get fully enlightened at that moment? Or does it have to be one at a time? And if you're omniscient, how can it be one at a time? If you, as omniscient, you're perceiving everything all simultaneously. Did I get the question right?
Exactly, that's one.
Gulp.
Well, simultaneously, I would look at it this way. You take the word simultaneously to mean happening at the same time, or you're aware of all things happening. That to me is a subtle difference, very subtle difference, but that's the difference. It's not like your brain is trying to process everything at the same time. Your brain is processing everything. That makes sense to me. I can see one person nodding yes and everybody else going, what the hell are you talking about? How can I explain it better?
Let me-
Okay,
Okay, go ahead.
maybe there's an analogy in a computer with a computer program. When you're searching, when you're doing a search on the internet, you're searching everything at the same time, but you're doing it sequentially. So there's this vast information, and the search engine's going through and eliminating everything that isn't what you're looking for. And it's doing that at the same time it's looking at the whole, it's looking for a part. And those parts aren't all stacked on top of each other. I don't guess that didn't help any.
yeah, but that will be the simultaneously. That will be the explanation of. Because this is the confusion that Laura is expressing. It is sequential.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. Is it sequential in the fact that it's looking like this isn't that, this isn't it, this isn't it, here's what I want? Or is it looking at it saying, here's what I want?
I think because we cannot conceive this,
Yeah,
we have one thought after the other, so it's difficult for us to conceive that in this one thought I had all.
Right,
Like
Right.
I'm able to
right.
capture everything at the same time.
But I guess my analogy with the internet is instead of having to look at 30 or 40 books to try and find something, you look at all that information at one time. It doesn't mean the 30 books are stacked on top of each other. They're still the morass of knowledge, but you're not having to look in 30 places. You're looking at the totality at once, and you find, if you're lucky, the internet's got what you want.
We can think of it in terms of the difference between the bodhisattva on their path to reach the state of omniscience, in which they're already working to help others reach that state of omniscience. But the bodhisattva themselves has not quite gotten there yet. They are working with this one and this one and this one and this one. When one reaches Buddhahood, we talk about those 4 bodies of a Buddha, where that new Buddha you will have your paradise being, meaning your projection of your own being, Buddha being in your Buddha paradise, and everyone there with you will be Buddhas or high-level bodhisattvas. Your projections makes them that, and they are that for real, for you. Then there will be the other form body of you, which is your emanation being, which is the forms that are forced by the compassion to perpetuate your Buddhahood by being what any being who doesn't see themselves as a Buddha needs to become Buddha. So now there's you with every around you Buddhas, but not every one of those are seeing themselves as Buddhas, are they? Necessarily. So for the ones that you see as Buddhas, but they don't see themselves as Buddhas, your compassion goes out as an emanation to help them. That compassion emanation going out is going to seem like it works with this one, and then this one, and this one. But you've got emanations going out everywhere to all of them, all at the same time. Any given one is working sequentially, but, right? And then you've got the omniscient mind aware of it all. And you've got the emptiness of all of the others, so it can be happening at all. The projected nature. Maybe that clarifies it better.
Not for me.
Not for you. Oh, we got 2 more minutes. Anything else? Nina. Oh, Maria,
Well,
please.
it's really an idea. Can we compare the Buddha to a very wise teacher that he is teaching something to his students? He knows almost everything, but through teaching, he learns something more from his students.
Technically, a Buddha, by definition, has no more to learn. You know, their omniscience is such that
Well, they're omniscient.
they're.
Not such that they are omniscient.
Will it look like a Buddha has something more to learn in their emanation body that comes to earth who, you know, yeah, it'll look like it. Okay, Buddha looked like he had to, you know, grow, he had to learn how to read and write and shoot arrows and, you know, all those things that Prince Siddhartha learned, manifested needing to learn. Yeah.
Can you please explain one more time the order of the second meditation, what we do? The first is just to recognize that my body don't stop here.
Okay.
It's all over there, what my senses get
Right.
for the
Right.
first step.
Mhm.
And for the second step,
Right. You want to do?
Can you repeat the question?
Tina asked, can I clarify the second step of the meditation? So the second step of the meditation is parking our mind on an object and then letting ourselves be aware of the object's identity and be aware of our belief that the object's identity is in it. And we actually spend a little intellectual time proving to ourselves that the object's identity is in it. It goes against the grain because, you know, if you've been at this for any time at all, we've been refusing to let ourselves give the object the identity. But in that piece of the meditation, you want to really clearly find the belief, the feeling of the belief, the experience of the belief that the flower vase on the altar is flower vases on the altar in it, from it. Somebody bought it, somebody had to get it, somebody has to take care of it. It'll be there when I leave because it'll be here when I get back, right? Just to really clearly let all your justification of why the thing is there on its own for level 2. So over the weekend, we're just gonna be doing physical objects. When we get into the week, we're gonna go beyond the physical objects into feeling, discriminating between things. Mind.
Simultaneously.
Okay, good. So remember that being we wanted to be able to help at the beginning of class. We learned a lot, whether we know it or not, that we will use sooner or later to help them in that deep and ultimate way. And that's a great, great goodness. So despite the confusion, despite the frustration, be happy with yourself, the seeds you've planted. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Full of this goodness, full of this wisdom. Recall your own precious holy guide. We have them in our hearts already. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you and support you and inspire you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it, and they bless it. And then it and they shine forth their loving kindness, their wisdom. It fills you full. It feels so good. We want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it by the power of the goodness that we've just done. May all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the true ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person. To share it with everyone you love. To share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with this wisdom of loving kindness. That's where happiness comes from. And may it be so. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What time is dinner?
I'm very long.
Not
Really
sure. I
5:30
think
or
it's right.
5:05?
It's 5:30.
It's really 5:30.
5:30. And 7 o'clock is next class.
It's really 5:30.
It's really.
No. Yeah. It is.
I
I will not, Christian will not do that.
I'm gonna show up at 5 just in case.
We will send some invitations.
Okay. So please get your rest. See you at dinner. You may please go ahead and. Do what you need.
The,
Sorry, I can't see you. Like
the results
invitations?
of the results of